So I'd like to welcome everyone. I'm Edwin Rutch, the Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and like to welcome everyone for taking part in this, and especially for Michelle Clark for having organized this, coming up with the idea and having organized it. Yay, Michelle. And this is our how might empathy and empathy circles support trauma sensitive facilitation. That's our topic today. And I'd also like to thank Molly for being another one of the organizers for this, and our whole group of facilitators and other presenters as well. So to give a little bit of background, I just have a few minutes here to talk about the center and the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. We're the largest website for empathy related material on the internet. We do all kinds of different empathy building projects, and what we're currently focusing on is empathy circles and empathy training. So the empathy circles, which we're going to be doing today, is a very simple gateway practice. It's a real foundational empathy building practice that we're trying to spread as widely as possible. And our goal is for everyone in the world to be able to learn how to take part in an empathy circle and be able to facilitate one. And it's a really good foundational practice for, I think, for any other empathy building practices. So it's a good first step. And we're also very interested in working with any other organizations, for example, the Yoga Mandala Project, or any organization that is out there. We're glad to work with you, kind of, collaborate on different projects and how to integrate your practices into the empathy circle. For example, these grounding somatic exercises are great to add to the practice. So I'm not going to speak too long since we don't have a lot of time. So I'm going to just say, reach out to us, contact us, and we're glad to collaborate. And I'll pass it on to Molly, who will share something about Yoga Mandala.
Yeah, thank you, Edwin, and thank you for the invitation to collaborate on this bringing this circle to the community. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Molly. I'm the current director of the Yoga Mandala Project, which is a very grassroots project, which was born in 2014 with our founding directors. So Rula is one of them, who's in this circle with us, joining from Jordan. And our project really began when our founders were volunteering as yoga teachers with refugees in Jordan. And they were receiving really positive feedback from the participants. And even once the volunteers needed to go home, they saw a need for continued programming and also for consistency among yoga teachers and volunteers serving these demographics impacted by trauma to be trauma informed in order for us to be sensitive to the needs of those we're serving. So we started then, and that's how our trauma-informed facilitation training was born. And since then, that's been offered each year in Jordan and Ireland, and over the past 2 years, almost now, year and a half, virtually. So we've been able to also expand our yoga programming with programs virtually in Hong Kong, England, Germany, and yes, different places around the world. And we also have a focus on self-care support, so burnout prevention through staff well-being programming. And we have our next trauma-informed facilitation training starting on August 22nd. So that's exciting, and we welcome everyone to participate. So if you're interested, feel free to send me a message and we can connect. So I won't take up too much time. So I will go ahead and pass it to you, Michelle.
Oh, thanks so much, Molly. I remember doing about 5 years ago the Yoga Mandala Project. They having done the trainings at a time when I came in as a trainee, but as it happened, a family member had passed away. My brother had passed away a few days beforehand, and it was actually like, Rula and Saraswati and Claire and all of the teachers there that there was this extraordinary empathic space. And having done a number of trainings, it's just an incredible organization. And then seeing that the movement that Edwin and all of the facilitators and trainers here are trying to spread this wave of empathy across the world, and the healing that can bring, to communities and I think it's what the world really, really needs at the moment. Like we're seeing, like every aspect of society at the moment, where there's just crises on every front. So it just feels like by bringing these two organizations together with this like kind of shared intention, that I'm fascinated to see what might unfold. I'm really grateful for everybody that turned up to support this as well. It's been just really, really like heartfelt like response to it. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, so we're ready to show the how-to, Michelle? I think that's next. So we have a short how-to video on how to take part in an empathy circle, and I am going to share that. And hopefully this all works. And here we go. These are the steps for how to take part in the circle. The Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. I'd like to welcome you to this short presentation on how to take part in a basic empathy circle. So next, let's look at the step-by-step how to take part. An empathy circle starts with 2 to 7 participants. Here on the screen, we have 4 participants, which I find is an ideal number. There are 4 basic roles, and the roles rotate among the participants as the empathy circle unfolds. 1, the speaker, is the first person to speak. 2 is active listener who actively listens to the speaker. There's the silent listeners, they quietly observe and witness. And the facilitator who organizes, schedules, and hosts the circle. They also do the timekeeping, and they have some experience with the process and help keep participants in the process. However, everyone has the responsibility to hold the process and the practice. So to begin with, the facilitator will start the empathy circle. They welcome the participants. They lead introductions if the participants don't know each other. The facilitator invites participants to give short introductions, for example, their name, where they're from, and something personal about themselves. The facilitator then reviews the empathy circle process to remind everyone how it works. They announce the discussion topic, if there is one. Even if there is a topic, you can always talk about what is alive for you. That is what is on your mind in the moment. And 5, they set the speaker time limits, perhaps 5 minutes, for example. And the facilitator then asks who would like to start to be the first speaker. So at that point, the participant volunteers to be the first speaker. As speaker, you select who will be your active listener, and you can select anyone that you want. You speak about the topic given or whatever is alive for you. And so you'll speak a bit until you have maybe expressed an idea or two. And then you want to pause to give the active listener a chance to recap what they understand that you are saying and feeling. If you say too much, the listener may have difficulty in reflecting it. As the active listener, you are listening to the speaker to get an understanding of what they are saying and what is important to them. You are giving them your full attention as a supportive companion on their inner journey and exploration. When the speaker pauses, you recap your understanding of what they said and how they feel by reflecting the essence of that in your own words. You can summarize, paraphrase, or even say the speaker's words back to them. Even though you may have a strong impulse to respond with your own ideas, judgments, analysis, advice, and sympathy, or even questions, resist the impulse to do so because these common responses block the speaker from moving along their internal journey. you'll be able to say whatever you want when it is your turn to be the speaker. If you don't reflect the understanding to the speaker's satisfaction, they can always say it again. Then as speaker, you check, do you feel understood to your satisfaction? If you do not feel understood, you can say it again, perhaps in different words. If you do feel understood, continue sharing. Again, after speaking a bit, pause to give your active listener a chance to recap their understanding of what you said. As the active listener, you again share your understanding of what the speaker said and meant.
Can you please call Jen?
The cycle of speaking and reflecting continues until you, as the speaker, do not have anything else you'd like to say, or until you get a signal from the timekeeper. If you get a signal from the timekeeper, then finish up what you're saying in a sentence or two. After you get a final reflection, you can end your turn by saying something like, I feel fully heard, or something like that to indicate you are done with your speaking turn. At that point, the roles then rotate. The active listener becomes the speaker. The person they select becomes the new active listener. For everyone having equal time, it is good to select someone that hasn't spoken lately, but it is your choice. The others in the circle become the silent listeners. This process of taking turns in speaking and active listening continues for whatever time is allotted for the empathy circle. And this was just a very short introduction. The best way to learn the practice is taking part and doing it. There is more in-depth material on taking part in an empathy circle and facilitating one at empathyycircle.com. Thank you for listening. Okay, so I've created the rooms. We have about 65 minutes to be in the empathy circle itself. I'm going to put the topic in just as a reminder. It's in the chat room. So our topic is, how might empathy and empathy circles support trauma-sensitive facilitation, or whatever is alive for you? You can always speak about any topic that is on your mind at the moment, if you would like. And we're going to do 4-minute turns, or it can be the facilitator can decide the times. And I think we have our rooms all set up, and I'll give about a 10-minute heads up announcement before the rooms close as well. It'll be closing at 20 till the hour. And so I think we're all set. Is there anything, Michelle? Yeah.
Yes, just if Rebecca arrives, we won't lock the main room or because there's somebody, Rebecca's going to join and she'll join us in the second half for an integration.
Okay.
So just so that we admit her into the Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, great. So here we go. Let's see, there we go, open all rooms. So Michelle, you'll be in the main room with me here, so you can be the facilitator. This is a recorded one. I'll just kind of handle the tech stuff. So Anne, you should see a button to push. You should be going into another room, and Iris too. There's a button to push to go into your room.
Am I in a room?
There should be you're in a, yeah, there should be a button for you to join the room.
No, it didn't come out.
Didn't come out?
Yeah, it didn't
I
show.
imagine, originally we were going to have in this main room, Edwin, yourself, Molly and Simone in this main room, but there's been a slight reorganization. So I think, I'm in the main room now with the Edwin facilitating, is that right?
Right, with you facilitating. Yeah. I'm just,
Okay.
I got to kind of manage the tech stuff too. So yeah. If you want to facilitate.
Are you sure that's wise?
I think so. I think we're in good hands.
Okay. Okay. Well, welcome to this. Welcome to this. Thanks so much to both the. So we have the breakout circles have all the other participants, and we'll bring them back in after 65 minutes and do a harvest from all of the circles. So we're on the main circle that's being recorded now. So the topic is really around this topic of how this empathy circle process, how it might support trauma sensitive facilitation. So how bringing these two areas together, what emerges. So we're going to go with 4-minute rounds. I'll do the facilitation for us, and I'll request somebody to begin as the speaker. I can do the listening for the first round, and I'll show this time after 4 minutes. It's time to and yeah, we can get underway. I'm just setting up my timer here. Just 1 minute. Cool. Okay. And hopefully it's not putting anybody on the spot, but does anybody feel gathered enough in their thoughts on this topic to kind of start us off as a speaker?
I don't know, my thoughts are so collected, but I'm happy to just talk on the topic, I guess. So my first empathy circle, so I'm still learning, but
Can I just interrupt? So you said someone was going to join as a Kyle Cruz. Are they some?
It's
you
not.
Don't know them.
It's not Kyle. No.
Okay, sorry.
No.
This is sort of the
Rebecca.
main room. So this will be also the technical stuff. People might be coming through. So sorry about that interrupt.
Yeah, it will be Rebecca.
Yes. So hopefully Rebecca, Shane will be signing on soon. Yeah. Okay. Would you like me to begin, Michelle?
Yeah. You feel ready? Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Okay. So empathy and how that plays into trauma-informed facilitation, and what comes up for me when I think about it right now is really that empathy is actually the foundation of trauma-informed facilitation. Because when we think about what is trauma-informed facilitation, for me, it's really human-informed. So it's really about being sensitive to the needs of those we serve. And I believe we do that through connection. So through empathy. So I actually am, I've never seen it framed that way, but thinking about how they play together, I really realized that empathy is actually the foundation of how we can connect with those we're serving. And that helps us to be able to respond to the needs and to whatever arises in space. So yeah, I believe empathy is the kind of the foundation that we build off of, and it allows us to be present with what arises, and so what comes up for me when I think about that.
Would you mind, but can I just pause you for a second there, just to reflect that much to there? Yeah. So I'm hearing you share that, and for you, empathy is at the heart of trauma-informed facilitation, and really brings us into this human-centric approach, and that we can be really connected and really sense and feel into what's arising and respond from that space.
Thank you. And, I feel fully heard in that statement. And kind of just what was coming up when I was listening to you reflect back was also the value of being empathetic with ourselves as facilitators. So really having empathy with ourselves and honoring our needs, because I feel another big aspect of trauma-informed facilitation is actually honoring our own needs so that we can be present and we can show empathy with others we're holding space for. Yeah. Hmm.
Would it be okay to just reflect there? Yeah, so I'm hearing you say that another really big aspect of this is being empathetic with our own needs, and like as facilitators or holding any space, that we really tune into that and nourish that, and then that's what we give forth.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And yeah, I think that really a big aspect of, YMP, we work a lot with demographics impacted by war and violence, and a big aspect of that is being adaptable and empathetic, of course, to connect. But yeah, like we said, I said, and you reflected so well, being empathetic with ourselves and responding to our own needs helps us to then be adaptable in the space and be able to respond to the energy and whatever is arising. Yeah, I feel that's kind of sums up what's on my in my heart at the moment.
Yeah. The work that you and the project and the movement is doing is in war and torn situations and refugee and like crisis situations. So it really brings this into focus, that it's like it's critical to bring in that as first aid to yourself first, and so that you have that in abundance then to share out.
Yeah, and I think it's actually empathy as well that plants those seeds to even get the calling to go and serve in this way. So I see my time is up, so I will leave it at that. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. so it's also, it's like the medicine, but it's also like it also like brings the motivation and the desire for it, like to serve in that way in the first place. That's really cool. Oh, thanks, Holly. Rula, would you mind listening to me? Would that be okay?
Sorry again, listening.
Yeah. So
Sure.
So we're doing a rotation round in the circle. So I'll speak now as a participant, and then we do the listening, and then we'll rotate in this way around if that's okay. Yeah. Just setting the timer for myself now, actually. I'm just listening to Molly's share there on this need for of like empathy bringing us into this desire to help others in the world, like, so it's being like the thing that moves people into like volunteering and service, and also being so needed to like really keep us in a space of sustenance, like that we can stay going. And I'm just thinking about like, I'm remembering back to the training here in Galway, like where like that space of holding, and how much like healing that just came from not even from the words, like, because there was no words, like there was just a vacuum of like a shock at the time. And then I remember that like it was actually just the holding, that open heart space connection and holding at the time that just held that it just it just feels like such a like the most sacred gift that a human can share with another. I pause there.
Yeah. So I can hear you. And I think most important is that you experience that feeling of empathy. I think this is key in the whole experience. I mean, some people maybe are not able to access that part in them because maybe they never experienced it. So you're speaking from a place of experience because you went through it, you know what it takes, and you're able to give it, actually, because you really have experienced it
Well,
yourself.
no, sorry, that wasn't what I was really sharing. Really, it was more just I was sharing that I'm thinking of like the both of the like the skills that of like reflective listening and holding this space, and the space that we're, that the space that it offers is that the healing power of that is more potent, I think, than any other, than anything else that can heal. I think it feels like the thing that can remedy. Yeah. And yeah,
You want to reflect what you were hearing, Rula, what you heard Michelle say? Understood that she said?
Yeah, I'm reflecting on what Michelle is saying. Maybe because I was there, I'm still trying to reflecting for maybe what. Sorry, I'm a bit cranky today with my cold. But yeah, providing. I mean, what I can hear is also providing the space. Providing the space was important for you to be able to actually, as you mentioned, you were in the shock, and it was the space helped you process that.
Yeah,
there was a lot to process.
Yeah, I feel really, I feel heard. Yeah, so it's just kind of like, so it's kind of it just feels like really nice now that when there's this like opportunity to bring like the movements together, and then maybe to like grow that as something that can be expanded, like, across across the world, that it's like that it just feels like, it feels like a really worthwhile thing to explore now in this circle today. And that's, and I feel really heard.
Thank you.
So Rula, sorry, that was, I was in the participant role there, but now the circle process that we're using, it rotates
Okay.
now.
Sorry, I'm still learning. I'm trying.
No, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so
Like-
sorry. I have this huge empathy is actually came up in my heart right now, where I'm like, oh my goodness, we put like Rula under so much pressure and put her on the spot because I didn't really share that
I
you
need
were
some
going to end up in the
empathy,
main room.
please.
I know. I'm so sorry. Because I was like, I'm like imagining you there in Jordan after like working on so many projects and probably being exhausted and needing
No, I
empathy,
just
and
came
you've
from
been put on the
holiday,
spot
so
now to do the circle. And I was just like, I'm sorry if we put you in the main room.
no, it's wonderful to be
So
here.
can you just reflect back, Rula? What did you hear? What did you hear Michelle just say? If you could just reflect your understanding of what she just said.
So I think how I perceived it is we need more spaces like that where people are experiencing empathy. For me, in 2 words, like we need more spaces just for people to be able to experience empathy. I mean, how it looks like is different, could be different from one country to the other.
Okay, so did you feel heard, Michelle? I just want to be sure. I'm taking over, doing a little facilitation.
Yes,
Okay, and I also heard that you were apologizing for bringing Rula into this right away. So I heard a little bit of apology there. So now, Rula, it's your turn to select someone in the circle. If you could choose me, someone, and then I will reflect back. You'll have 4 minutes to speak.
But I want to thank Michelle first. Thank you, Michelle, and I hope I reflected well on your emotions.
I feel so heard. Yes, yeah, definitely. And I really want to really just fill you up with empathy in that space there, just so that we can have charge.
Thank you.
Charge up that space. Yeah.
Thanks. So Edwin, you want me to select someone as a listener?
Who would you like to speak to? Yeah, exactly. You can speak to me, for example. I haven't spoken, or that'll model it for Rebecca too.
Yes, I'll speak to Edwin. Hi.
Okay, listening. Hi.
So what's present for me, as I heard from Molly and Michelle, and from my own personal experience, but I was thinking, like, is empathy something that we can really learn, or is it something we're born with? Is it something we can actually give if we haven't experienced, you know, something? It's always on my mind, like, is it something that I can just learn and offer that, or is it something that I really have to experience it myself?
So can I reflect that back? So I'm hearing you just sitting with the question, is it empathy or something born with, or do you have to learn it, or you're just sitting, you know, or do you need to receive empathy to give empathy, and you're just sitting with those questions? I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's correct. You know, it's the question, like being in the circle, are we, so are we able to learn to be more empathetic eventually? Or is it like, how does it look like on the ground? How does it actually look like? Is it something that has another word, or it looks different, maybe in different cultures? Because for me, we work with different people who come from different cultures. People in the US might have a different perspective than, for instance, in the Middle East. Empathy, is it something just a reflection, emotional, or is it something that you can actually empathize with someone, physically help them, assist them? So this is what's on my mind right now.
Yeah, so on your mind is a lot of questions,
A lot of
and you have a
questions.
question like, is there cultural differences? Sort of, what is the meaning of empathy? How do you do empathy on the ground? So the nuts and bolts and the practicality of empathy. So you're just sitting with a lot of questions about the nature of empathy is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and it's like, it's one of those things where you can't actually fake it. If you are not sincerely presenting your, giving your empathy, it will actually, the person will feel it, the person in front of you. So I think it's something that you can't really fake. That's why I believe we need to experience it ourselves. We need to probably have gone through it, so I can actually give it to someone. Yeah.
So you feel that if people are faking empathy, others will sense that, and so you can't really fake it. And so
Yeah,
you
so
just
it could do more harm
Mhm.
than, yeah.
Yeah, you could do harm if you're like faking empathy. If you're saying, "Oh, I'm trying to be empathic," and you're sort of faking it, that could do
Yeah.
harm.
Yeah,
Is there
exactly.
more, or do you feel heard, fully heard?
I feel heard. Thank you,
Okay, great.
Edwin.
Are you timing, Michelle, still? Are you still doing the time? I'm just wondering to be sure.
Yeah, we're at time, but I just wanted to give loads of space for like
Okay.
Rula to be really, really heard, because yeah, she's kind of tucked into the main circle.
Great. Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Rebecca, do you feel ready to listen? You didn't have all the introduction and everything, or do you want to see it modeled more, or do you?
If I'm not mistaken, what I'm doing is reflecting what the other person is saying. So I'm just listening, I'm not responding, just
Correct.
reflect.
Yeah. So I'll speak to you and you'll just reflect back. So so the first part I wanted to address, Molly talked about self-empathy. And I would say one thing about self-empathy is when you get heard by others, that really supports your self-empathy. So by you, Rebecca, listening to me, you're supporting my self-empathy. So.
Okay, must I reflect that back to you?
Yep.
Okay, so what you're saying is that when I listen to self-empathy, when I reflect back on self-empathy, okay, actually, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Okay, well, just what did you hear? I was saying that when I'm heard by someone, that supports my self-empathy.
So when you're heard by someone, it supports your self-empathy.
Yeah, so self-empathy, I think, is not going off into a cave and then shutting out the world. You actually get a lot of self-empathy in an empathy circle by other people listening to you. So
Okay. So listening allows us to have more empathy.
exactly, yeah, self-empathy, we get that. And then as we feel heard, we have that capacity to listen to others, right? The more, it's sort of like getting your self-empathy is like getting your oxygen, the oxygen mask from others, and then creating that energy and then having space to listen to others. So that's sort of how I see the self-empathy.
Okay, so listening to others allows us to have more self-empathy because we are reflecting back at people what they're revealing to us. And in that process, it allows us to be more empathetic to them and then us to have more empathy for ourselves.
It's a little bit different. It's the person who's being empathized with is being supported with their own self-empathy. So as the speaker now, I'm being heard by you. So you are supporting my self-empathy. And yeah, so just trying to find those terms that Molly brought up. You want to reflect that? What did you understand that I said?
You said that as the speaker, the other person's job is to listen to you, and as a result, that allows you to feel heard and have the self-empathy.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm just noticing some gratitude that you've jumped into this and you're jumping right in. And so I'm feeling some gratitude that you're, working on this, doing this.
Well, thank you for having gratitude for me.
Yeah, I hear you're grateful for my gratitude. So, so I feel fully heard. So, yeah. So now you select who you would like to speak to, and they'll listen to you, and you'll have 4 minutes.
Must I speak about my ideas about empathy or what?
I'm going to put it into the topic. Yeah, you didn't hear the topic. Let me put the topic into the chat. It's how might empathy and empathy circles support trauma sensitive facilitation or whatever's alive for you. So anything that you want to talk about, you can also do that. And here I'm going to put that into the chat room. And you have 4 minutes.
Okay, I will speak to Molly because I know her. So I'm completely new to empathy circles. I've never been in one before or experienced anything like this. But I'm excited to learn and grow and hear from other people. I think empathy is extremely important. However, I resonated with what Rula had said earlier in that I do think that I wonder sometimes if it is something that we are just born with and not something that necessarily can be learned. I think also it definitely, empathy is interesting because sometimes I don't necessarily think that you have to experience something to have empathy for a person. However, I think when it comes to empathy circles, you are, I kind of lost my train of thought, but I think that you don't have to experience something in order to have empathy. I think that you have to experience something in order to hold space for the other person, though, because I don't think you could necessarily hold space in a supportive way if you don't really know what the other person is going through.
Is it okay if I reflect that back to you, Rebecca? So what I'm hearing you say is that you're new to these empathy circles and that you are really resonating with what Rula said and also exploring if empathy is something we can learn or if it's something we have to experience to be able to share. And also I heard you exploring that in order to hold space in a supportive way for others, we need to also have had space held for us in a supportive way. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. So yes, I believe that we have to have space held for us in a supportive way. I believe that empathy, though it is something that we are born with, I think that anyone can be empathetic, whether you've gone through the experience or not. If you are, if you're a empathetic person, you are an empathetic person. However, I think that in order to hold space appropriately, one needs to have a lived experience that's similar to what we're holding space for. I think that's very important.
Okay, so if it's okay, I'll reflect that back to you. I'll try my best. What I'm hearing you say is that empathy is something we're born with. Anyone can experience empathy, and to be able to really hold space for people in a supportive way, we need to have experienced something similar to what we're holding space for.
Yes. And then just lastly, what I'll say is that I think empathy circles are very important, but I do always think it's important also to realize that safe space, no matter how hard we try to create safe space, it can never be guaranteed. And that's very important to understand, so that we don't claim to be creating a safe held container for people, because we can't guarantee that, and to be very sensitive and always be willing to, change course, redirect, and always be open to growing and hearing from the people, the participants.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you believe empathy circles are really important, and also when we're holding space, we need to be aware that we can't guarantee safety. So not making claims that we can't keep, as we don't know what will come up for people. Yeah, does that help you to feel heard, Rebecca?
Yes, thank you.
So that was the time. So Molly, you can choose your listener.
Oh, okay, so we go again. Okay,
We
so
go until for the time allotted. So we have about 40 minutes.
okay, great. I was wondering how that worked out. Okay, so Michelle, would you like to be my listener?
Yeah, so gladly. Yeah, thanks very much, Molly.
Yeah, so I didn't know I was going to be going again, so let me think. I really resonate with what everyone said, and I appreciate that Edwin kind of expressed that even just being in these empathy circles, being heard by others and hearing others also points towards self-empathy. That was a helpful reminder for me. And yeah, in terms of being born into empathy. Oh, sorry. Do you want to reflect that, Michelle?
Yeah. So I'm hearing you share that, so that it's been really interesting to hear on this circle, especially from Edwin, of that, like being expressing and being heard brings us into self-empathy. Like that deepens into self-empathy. Cool.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And in terms of, I guess, reflecting on what's been raised around if empathy is something we're born with, I do believe we all have that kind of innate capacity to connect and be empathetic with others. And I also know, or can share from my own experience, that in this kind of trauma context, I guess I can share that for me, I mean, I believe I was always a really empathetic, maybe too much so, if that's possible, person. But for me, it really took like my own like really serious trauma and heartache to open me up, even on a deeper level, to be more empathetic to the people around me.
So for you, you believe people are born with empathy, but you also think that all human beings, like all beings, have the capacity for empathy, or are born with it, and that you feel that for you, that like it was like you've really heightened sense of empathy, and sometimes feels like it actually feels like almost too much. Like that it, and it really was when you had experienced some like huge trauma and healing that really brought you more into that space.
Yeah, and I guess it kind of raises a little bit about what Rebecca said, and I maybe won't agree necessarily that we have to experience something similar to those we're holding space for in order to feel empathy for them. Though from my experience, I know my own suffering did lead to a deeper connection with other people who are suffering, whether in a similar situation or others. So I guess I'm agreeing and not agreeing with that at the same time.
Cool. So you're kind of reflecting on Rebecca's share and around like, do we have to have had similar experiences to fully empathize? And you're agreeing and disagreeing. It's like you're realizing that healing your own trauma has really like helped you really empathize with others that have that, but you also feel that you can also identify as well, or at least hold the space for others.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, it's actually something that I never really framed it this way in terms of empathy, but I think it's a really big thought process for me over the past 6 years of really, for me, when it came to the refugee crisis, it was something I saw on TV, and it was something I advocated for and protested for when I was younger. But it wasn't until that violence by ISIS hit my own life that I really woke up to the passion to make it my life path to relieve the suffering. And so that kind of process I've been sitting with over the years of how can we open people's hearts to the suffering of the world without having a direct experience of that suffering. That was a lot.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you share that like initially through volunteering that you were being called in, but then that when you had that like when that happened, that like when on your during your volunteering experience, that like when you came into a huge tragedy, it really broke into that space even deeper. But the big question in your mind at the moment is like, how can we hear the wails of the trauma of the world and open to that trauma, and yet and I'm not sure if I'm reflecting this correctly, and yet tenderly holds within that.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. That helps me to feel fully heard. I don't know how my time is, but I guess just sharing what's present, that like I wasn't necessarily expecting emotions, but I'm feeling like very heavy in my heart, and I think that is the beauty of this process of really being fully heard.
Yeah, so I'm also hearing that you're like feeling some heaviness in your heart, and you're like Actually, yeah, seeing that as as beauty, actually, because it's like, yeah, bringing us into this space of, yeah, of feeling heard. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. I feel fully heard in this dialogue.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks so much. It's been, yeah. I don't know. Would you mind listening to me? Would that be okay?
Listening.
Please and thanks.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this part of the empathy circle where like time slows down. We kind of like sink into, yeah, this space of where the kind of field emerges, and it just feels like such medicine, I think, for the heart. There.
Yeah, so you like the quality of the empathy circle, you sink into a slower state and maybe feeling more connection with others, and maybe, and that just feels like medicine for the heart.
Yeah, that's it. I'm also like thinking of what yourself and what like Molly have been sharing there, of like this feeling of being heard, actually bringing in like this deeper self-empathy of like, yeah, just letting that energy kind of flow down into my being. You know, it's yeah, it's sometimes something that's like quite difficult. Like for me, sometimes is that like I have this like, you know, urge to like, you know, go outwards with that, but realizing actually, you know, it's really about letting that sink in so that I can, offer it out.
I'm not quite sure I understood, but there's something about letting the energy sink into you so that you can then be able to offer it out versus something else. So it sounded like versus a different approach.
Yeah, so just the sense of like the space of, yeah, being fully heard, fully seen and heard, like bringing in that depth of self-empathy is really powerful.
So it's that quality of being heard and seen, and kind of sort of allowing that to come into your awareness or into yourself, that you find very powerful.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just pausing for a second to just see what wants to. I'm thinking about the times when I've been disconnected from empathy, and it's always been like at times of like, when I look back, it's been when like big things have happened where I've become like disembodied and I've lost connection to my body, and so when I lose that connection to my body, you know, I lose my empathy and I become shut down and numb and frozen. And I think that's why, like, you know, I find, you know, trauma sensitive yoga so important, because it's like bringing into the body. And yet what happens, like, what do you do with these big feelings then when you do come down into that space? And the amount of holding and the amount of empathy and the amount of space that's then needed to bring that safety in for that re-embodiment, like to coming back in. It's like, yeah, that pose there.
So when you've felt trauma or sort of been overwhelmed, you find sort of a disembodied, you sort of detach from your body, and you appreciate yoga because it sort of brings you back into your body and to be able to connect with your body But then when you're in that space, you're wondering, looking like how to navigate within that, like maybe how do you navigate within that space of being embodied?
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes, yeah, I've found that I have tried sometimes to do that without, like, you know, without that warmth and that softness, and it's like it's hard to reconnect, or it takes much longer. You know, it feels, you know, so I do feel that, like, they're so deeply entrenched of, like, trauma throws me out of empathy. Empathy heals my trauma. Like, that brings me back into my body. I feel reconnected, and then I want to re-engage with the world. Yeah.
So it sounds like just a cycle that happens. Is that when you feel the trauma, if you have empathy, it kind of brings you into your body, which supports you in feeling more. And it's sort of that looks like a positive cycle that happens to bring you out of the trauma.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I feel fully heard.
Okay,
Thanks, Edwin. Thank you.
great. Then I'll speak to Rula then.
Oh,
Pleasure. Hello.
thanks, Rula. We just got, sorry about this, Rula. We just got Simone just entered as well, Edwin. I don't know.
Should let Simone in.
Yeah,
Was
she
Simone
might,
part of
she might
another
want to
group?
join.
Yeah. Sorry, Thomas.
Sorry.
In what group was Simone? Was there a?
She was going to join us. She can join us here in the main room if you don't mind.
Oh.
Was making space for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Go ahead. With pleasure.
Okay. So if you just, hi Simone, if you're, I don't know how familiar you are with the empathy circle, but if you observe, you'll probably get the hang of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm speaking to Rula. So if I continue.
I'll just brief Simone. We're halfway through. We started. We started an hour ago, but you've landed in the main room, and there's other breakout circles happening at the moment. So we're going to go for another about 30 minutes, and then we'll go back into a harvest afterwards. So, and I hope it's okay, but we're on record for this main room, if you don't mind. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so Rula, let's see. Yeah, that detachment that Michelle was talking about, that's interesting because I have a sort of a tendency, I've to sort of detach from a situation, sort of to pull myself out. And there's almost like a pull in a situation to pull myself out to detach. So I think that's an interesting dynamic. And yeah, I'll pause there.
Yeah, so you feel that when you're in an empathetic situation, you feel that you're detached. Is it emotionally? Just for me
No,
to
it's not in an empathic situation. It's more like in groups. You know, if I'm in, you know, previously when I was younger, I should say, you know, that I sort of pull out, sort of detach. And it's a nice space because I can sort of observe everything that's going on. But then I am sort of detached, and I just noticed that quality. And so I just wanted to explore that because it seems to relate to what Michelle is talking about.
Yeah. So you feel that you are able to detach when you're in a situation. You can sit back, you can observe, which you find maybe a good tool for you to be a better observer.
Yeah, but it creates a sense of disconnection too, which has a cost, I think has a cost. So I find with the empathy circle, it brings me into more of a connection and a sense of connection, and takes me out of that detachment. So the more I've done empathy circles, the less I've had that tendency to kind of pull out of like groups, you know, kind of withdraw.
So you find empathy circles quite helpful for you to be actually present in the circle itself instead of just detaching from where you are.
Yeah, and then also to be able to name what I am doing. If I'm starting to detach, say, hey, I'm feeling a little detached here, right? So to name what I'm doing, which also creates a sense of connection. So whatever is happening in my brain or in my body, to be able to name it, and that helps me to stay connected too. So I'm trying to, you know, nurture that sense of connection. And I think that sort of relates to trauma, which is, you know, you kind of can sort of detach. Yeah.
Mm. But I'm not clear if you're referring to detachment as a good tool sometimes.
I'm trying to nurture connection, trying to nurture that empathic, that state of empathic connection, and not to detach. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the circles actually help you be better connected in the situation of when you're in an empathetic situation.
Yeah, and a memory just came up that my mother went through World War II, and she was a little girl going through, she was German in the eastern part of Germany, and they were kicked out by the Russians. And she talks about walking down the street and all the people, the Poles and stuff, kind of screaming and yelling at them as they were kind of refugees. And she kind of went into a state of trauma and just like totally kind of lost it, and just became kind of totally dysfunctional, or I don't know what, there's probably terms for that. So I just remember that I kind of have a real sense of sadness, something kind of came up around that memory.
Yeah. So what came up is a childhood memory where something actually your mother experienced during World War II, and it was also related to disconnection, going through a traumatic situation.
Yeah, and kind of having a nervous breakdown, right? You have just a breakdown. It's just like you just can't think and function. You just kind of totally become dysfunctional.
Which led to being disconnected in that situation.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Thank you.
So you select your listener, Rula.
Oh, yes. Simone, are you ready? Are we putting you on the hot seat for the... Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I am. And I'm just wondering, is it about reflecting back? So that is maybe the way of how you're conducting the empathy circle, or just here in this moment in time.
Right. Rula will speak a little bit, and she will pause, and you will reflect back your understanding of what she said, and then she'll speak some more, and you reflect back for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This brings me actually to a very important skill we always talk about, is listening. And what everyone was saying brings me back to even empathy doesn't have to be in a circle. Excuse me. I maybe remember when sometimes my mother, who's usually with us, living with us, is talking to me about something. Maybe the way I am not fully present there is not empathetic enough. So what I heard from everyone actually is the importance of being a good listener when someone is sharing. So I'll pause here if you,
So yeah, for you, it is important in a way when, when there is listening required, that, so to say, the person is fully listening, is fully with you in this moment in time.
Yeah, and fully listening, maybe even the body's gesture. Maybe, these days we're so distracted with our phones. Maybe, sometimes we're listening and we're distracted with other things. So I think to offer empathy is to fully drop everything we're doing and just be fully present.
Yeah, so it's really not being distracted by phone devices, anything else, but really fully listening, and in that way maybe possibly also with gestures or with maybe non-verbal signs to show you that the other person listens and is there, is presently there.
Yeah, and then even the reflecting that we're doing right now is quite important. Sometimes people telling us something, it's actually a very good skill and tool to just check in with them that what we heard them right. It's something I think these days we're on the fast mode. We don't do, so we make our own assumptions.
Yeah, so it's really a way when maybe another person reflects back to you that you can also be sure, they heard you and they heard you correctly.
Yeah.
And maybe in that way, spending time, just being, giving time to you.
Giving time to, to make sure that person really heard what I said. And maybe something that crossed my mind when everyone was talking also is how my empathy maybe doesn't undermine someone's suffering. This is probably from maybe our experience with working with refugee communities, like how offering empathy sometimes in a way where the person in front of me doesn't feel that I'm undermining what they're going through. Yeah. I don't know, that's clear.
Yeah, so that when you're showing empathy, it's not undermining, it's literally not changing the other person's experience of where they're at, where they're in, of their suffering.
Yeah, it's not like empathy is not like giving the solution to someone or where they are. It's just maybe the listening itself is enough. Could be offering offering solutions, could be something that might end up undermining someone's trauma or what they're going through.
Yeah, and here you're pointing out especially maybe offering solutions, could have then an impact on the other person, offering solutions while actually being, in the empathic, so to say, listening state.
Thank you, Simone. I don't know what the time is good. Michelle?
Yeah, we're just there now, actually. Yeah, we're just there. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Simone, you're the speaker now. So so we're doing a rotation. So if you'd like to choose a listener, I think it's a while since we've heard from Rebecca, or whoever you choose in the circle, and we're rotating around in this way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd love to ask Rebecca, if that's okay. Could you be my listener just for the next 4 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Lovely. So I'm just literally barging here into this circle, and I think I had a slightly time difference difficulty. So I'm coming here with, so to say, an open heart and also a little bit of excitement and maybe slight confusion around the time for today.
I hear you saying that you came into the circle, you feel a little bit confused as to the time difference, and although you're very open, your heart is open, and yes, you feel her.
Yeah, thank you. Great. And also, with empathy and empathic listening, I find there's this is such a big topic because I'm coming from the nonviolent communication. So listening to another person empathically is a real art to me. It's big. It's, so to say, a skill or a skill set to learn over maybe a long period of time, over years, possibly so.
Yes, empathic listening, you're saying, is actually an art, the ability to listen to someone and to truly hear them is a skill that is developed and learned and evolves.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm finding myself, even though, so to say, working in the area and also, so to say, practicing since a couple of years nonviolent communication, I still find myself in infancy shoes in that regard. I still find there's a lot to learn and a lot of, so to say, to learn and to improve and to take in each time I'm in the setting of empathic listening.
Mm. Although you've been working for a long time in the field with nonviolent communication, you're still seeing that every day you are learning new things, and you are, yes, it's an art that you are fine-tuning, so to speak. And yes.
Yeah, fine-tuning resonates with me. It was just now, that's why I'm nodding. It's like, oh yeah, fine-tuning. That's actually a great way of putting it. Yeah, so I think I'm literally in my own self, just experiencing that I feel heard and nurtured, and I would come to an end just now.
Thank you so much for feeling. Okay. Heard.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, and everyone. Thank you.
So you choose your listener, Rebecca.
I'm going to choose Michelle. That's all right. And yes, I'm finding that this topic is so interesting when it comes to empathetic listening and then listening in general. And I'm wondering if the ability to listen is empathetic listening. Is that something that the two are like intertwined? Because we don't always give a lot of, okay, I'll stop, I can babble.
Cool. So you're really reflecting on empathy and listening, and you're curious if ultimately they could be like the same thing, like deeply listening brings you there.
Yes, I've always felt that listening is an art, as what Simone said, and I'd never heard before the saying empathetic listening. And I'm wondering if if our ability to listen alone is actually what empathy is, since listening is something that we're not necessarily trained to do.
Okay, so yeah, so you've often heard people talking about listening, but not empathic listening, and you feel that it's not something we're necessarily trained to do, and you think your focus is like really on how do I deeply listen.
Yes. And just our ability to listen alone might actually be the way to empathy, instead of it being, two different things or two different sayings. Just the ability to listen is what could lead us to empathy.
So it's really the ability to listen. Like it's for you, it's like, don't focus on empathy, focus on deeply listening.
Yes, because I think with listening deeply and hearing someone, I think empathy is a natural thing to follow that.
And it'll just unfold naturally, like empathy will become a byproduct of that process.
Yes, and I'm also interested in the idea of listening without having any input or trying to change the person's experience. I wonder, although I'm not I haven't formed a full idea on this, I just wonder what is the best way to facilitate someone's healing. Is it to simply listen, and at what point, perhaps try help? Is it when they ask for the invitation? Yeah.
Cool. So you're really thinking about like how much, if at all, do you intervene, and if you do, like the consent process around it, like how do you ask?
Yes. Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm feeling heard, held, and supported by you.
So you're feeling heard, held, and supported. Mm. 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 Molly, could you listen to me, please, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I'm just feeling like, so yeah, it's really curious. I'm just feeling so held, like heard and supported just by listening to Rebecca, and I'm reflecting internally and like, what is that like? why do I feel heard by like listening, and I like what is that? It's insane. And yeah, I'll pause there.
Yeah, so I hear you saying that you're curious and feeling supported and held, and kind of reflecting on Rebecca's sharing and what it is that really helps you to feel heard in this moment.
Yes, and I'm thinking that what it is for me, or what's arising in me, is like it's listening and it's speaking. So when the person I'm listening to is speaking their deepest truth, or from this really deep place, it connects me to that deep place, and my truth emerges from that place. So somehow it beckons something forth. So it brings me, yeah, it was really, so it's the being deeply listened to seems to bring forth this, like, seems to bring the circle or everybody into like really depths of real, like, you know, of their core of their being.
So I hear you saying that being fully heard and listened to, and witnessing others experiencing that, helps you and maybe all of us come into the depths of our truth and the depths of our being.
Yeah, I feel really heard. Yeah, and it's really curious that, like, connecting and speaking and listening from that space, that sometimes I can feel like I've known somebody my entire life just after 30 seconds of like of that depth. Yeah.
So I hear you saying that connecting with people on this depth, even just for 30 seconds, can help you feel like that sense of connection has been there for a lifetime.
Yeah. And I do think I really join on what Rebecca is offering, that it's like deep listening. It's a byproduct is empathy. Definitely, like, but I'm also realizing that it also, there's something greater that emerges from that. Like, there's a space that just feels, for me, that just feels really, there's just a kind of a aliveness or an energy or a beauty or a creativity or like an playfulness, that it's like when I feel exhausted and tired and burnt out, like I come off every empathy circle, like, like I've recharged, like I feel so full of energy and aliveness again. It's like being plugged into source or something.
So I hear you reflecting on Rebecca's sharing, and then kind of reflecting on how, no matter how you show up in these spaces of empathy circle and empathetic listening, it fills you up and you leave feeling more full of energy, regardless of how you came into the space.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. thank you so much. I feel really, really good.
Yeah. So I believe we have time for me to go again. Rula, if you would like to be my active listener and reflect back to me. I feel like I could speak for like 20 minutes now after everything that's been said, but I'm also kind of looking at myself and saying, okay, why do I feel the need to respond even to something Edwin said about, detachment and disassociation minutes ago? So I'm just kind of reflecting on my why with that, and that kind of circles. And with Rebecca's reflection, oh, sorry, I'll pause, Rula, and let you say that.
So I hear that you're in a place of excitement and wanting to share more and more. I mean, the more we hear, the more we want to share. I think the more maybe you feel that from your own personal experience, you want to share more. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rula. And yeah, circling to Rebecca's kind of reflection on, what is it that facilitates healing? And, that's kind of the intention of trauma-informed facilitation, is to facilitate that training. And I think it's so common in our culture, even, our international culture, to respond to fix rather than to witness. Even though when I reflect back on my own healing, it's oftentimes these types of circles, and maybe with different names, heart-based circles and compassionate listening, that have facilitated that healing for me.
So you're reflecting on the sessions themselves, maybe the circles themselves, but I'm not clear if it's you say that sometimes we're in situations where we want to respond and fix, or just be in that space of listening. Did I hear it correctly?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not speaking so clearly, but yeah, I feel like we've been very cultured and conditioned to respond to fix and witness rather than, to give solutions rather than just to witness. But when reflecting on my own life, my own experiences, it's these opportunities to really be heard and seen, and that it seems so simple, but that actually seems to facilitate more healing than when I'm offered solutions or how to get over grieving or
Yeah, I hear you. So it's more about the hearing, the listening, and it came up also before that we don't always have to fix anything. We're in a culture of that we have to fix everything and fix things, fix people. So you feel that being heard is more healing in most of the cases.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Rula. Yeah, and I really appreciated, I think it was Michelle that kind of, expressed this cycle of empathy actually being a really big part of the healing and the trauma-informed facilitation. And I guess kind of circling back to, how I started the conversation of just the active listening is really what enables us to hold space in a trauma sensitive way, to be able to connect and respond to whatever arises. And, that disassociation that's kind of been raised of kind of detachment, however you want to kind of look at it. It's really interesting to kind of recognize that empathy can actually help us come back into our bodies, just like trauma-informed facilitation can, and yoga and somatic practices. Yeah, so I'm just feeling like a lot of light bulbs are going off, and it kind of makes me realize sometimes being more simple is actually what's needed.
Great. So reflecting on also what Michelle shared, what I heard from you is active listening is very important. Helping someone maybe be less detached from the situation when we're actually actively listening, responding, maybe you mean also the eye contact, the physical, responses can help someone come back into the situation and feel that they're being heard. Did I hear you correctly? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for reflecting that. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's interesting kind of when we're talking about, empathy, maybe helping us come back so that we can connect. And I think that's a really interesting thing to consider in this setting, as many of us are, humanitarian volunteers. And in a way, boundaries are, of course, very important for our own well-being and for everyone else's well-being. So it's like this dance or this balance between connecting with empathy and also maintaining boundaries so that we're not experiencing burnout or compassion fatigue. So yeah, that's kind of what feels alive.
Yeah, so very important, the balance between empathy and boundaries. So we also feel maybe protected and safe, and being able to keep offering that empathy. Is that what, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rula. I feel very heard in that reflection.
Thank you.
So I just closed the room, so people will be coming back now. So thanks, everyone. We're grateful for your part being in the circle with you. And Rebecca, you'll be doing the next section, is that right? I'll just introduce you, integration.
Okay, should I just wait?
Yeah, I'll introduce you once everybody gets back. They still have about 30 seconds before everybody's kind of forced back through.
I just want to say sorry to Mira and Erin. I was in mid-sentence and I came here because of a technological issue here. Again, I pressed leave instead of say ignore. So sorry about that. That was such an abrupt end.
I know, we want to hear more. We'll have to connect.
Okay, there we go. Is everybody back? Everybody dropping in. Let's see, I think we're all back now. So welcome back. Hope you had a meaningful circle. So we're going to have now a 6-minute integration with Rebecca. So 6 minutes. Do you want to go ahead?
Hi, everyone. I am Rebecca. I'm going to lead us through a 6-minute integration practice. So I just want you to find a comfortable position. If you would like to stay seated, you may, or if you would like to lie down, please feel free to turn off your cameras. And then you're just going to close your eyes, or you can leave them open. Whatever feels comfortable for you, just softening the gaze. And we're just going to take an inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. Inhale and exhale. So let's finding our comfortable position. We're just going to do a couple more inhales and exhales. If you want to roll out your neck, you may. Rolling out the shoulders, finding stillness. We're slowly going to bring our awareness to the ground beneath you, to where you're seated, focusing on that support of the earth below you, inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. And then we're going to bring our awareness to the right side of the face, the right side of your neck, right side of your chest, collarbone, shoulder, right side of your stomach, right thigh, right knee, shin, your right foot, bringing your awareness to the whole right side of the body. Inhaling and exhaling. Gentle inhalation, soothing exhalation. We're going to bring our awareness to the left side of the body, left side of your face, left side of the neck, left collarbone, left shoulder, left side of the chest, the stomach, left thigh, left knee, left shin, left foot, the whole of the left side of the body. Gentle inhalation and soothing exhalation. Inhale and exhale. Now bringing your awareness to the whole body, your whole head, neck, your chest, your arms, your stomach, bringing your awareness to your thighs, your shins, your feet, your whole body. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and gentle exhalation. Bring your awareness to the top of the head. And as you inhale, you're going to guide your breath from the top of your head all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And we're gonna inhale, guiding the breath down. Exhale, guide the breath back up. Inhale, breath is at the top of the head, guiding it back down to the bottom of the feet. And as we rest at the bottom of our feet, I want you to begin very gently wiggling your toes. Inhaling into the feet as you wiggle the toes. Maybe you begin by rolling the ankles. You can bring your hands to rest on your knees and start waking up the body nice and gentle, bringing gentle movement to the hands, rolling the shoulders, rolling the neck, all while inhaling and exhaling. And when you're ready, gently opening up the eyes, giving yourself a nice hug, and releasing it down. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. That feels good. The whole body's tingling. Great. So we want to do some debrief now. And Lou, you're going to do this part.
Yeah, thanks, Edwin. So let's see. So we have 27 people and we have about 17 minutes to do this. So what we want to hear is what you're taking away from this experience today. And so please limit yourself to about 30 seconds or less. And I'd like to just open the floor to who would like to share about what they're taking away from today.
I'll jump in.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Teresa? Okay, Teresa.
I really enjoyed that. It's my first time ever doing anything like that. Thank you, Michelle, for inviting me. I got a lot out of it. There was an interesting, it was interesting just being able to slow down and practice active listening and have that reflected back to you. Really appreciate it. Can see how it would be very beneficial with trauma to have the empathy circle, because it gives people that space to really feel into their bodies and to feel safe and not judged and heard. So thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. And who is wanting to go next?
Okay, I can go. Thank you. Also, also my first circle have been called to be joining these trainings and really had a wonderful experience in our breakout room of just having the barriers down, just so much being just mutual sharing of some really deep and complicated emotions and breaking down those barriers of isolation and a lot of interconnectedness and just really feeling so really enamored, just really loving this model. We'll definitely be back and joining more circles, and that's kind of it. I just just feeling very, very grateful and hopeful, and I'm glad to connect in this kind of environment with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Mehi. Who else would like to go? And maybe we'll hear from participants first as opposed to facilitators. So some other participant want to share?
Yeah, hello, this is Rilla from Jordan. So I want to thank Michelle, Edwin, everyone who's put this together beautifully. And in brief, I think I'm taking away better active listening. It's a good reminder that we don't listen enough. And you know, considering where the world is these days, more empathy is definitely much needed everywhere, across borders, across religions, across everything. So thank you everyone for all the work.
Thank you, Rula. Who else would like to share something that they're taking away from their experience today? So maybe the facilitators too could join in then if nobody's coming forward. So I'll share. I'm taking away some great gratitude about having an opportunity to think about this question about trauma and facilitation and how to be more sensitive to it and aware of it, and how to support the expression of trauma or people's experience of trauma. So I'm really grateful to have had a chance to think about that and hear from others about it. Anyone else? Bill?
Erin, do you want to go first?
Oh, you can go first.
Okay. So what I'm taking away is how the circles support trauma is there's an expression that said, pain shared is pain halved, and joy shared is joy doubled. And so that's sort of the feeling is that this is not therapy, but when you share your pain and someone else reflects that, it gives you a different perspective. And I've seen that happen over and over again. And so I'm very touched by the bravery of people who come and are willing to do that, because the fact that you're willing to do that indicates that you have the inner strength to, I think, to overcome it. And yeah, and I just feel grateful for people who are willing to do that. We need more people like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Erin?
I was really enjoying our breakout, our circle with Mina and Tisam, just kind of talking about our interior experience as being a participant in the empathy circle and facilitating and thinking about this in the context of trauma was really, really valuable. And also another really big takeaway was the experience of having the empathy circle seated between a grounding exercise and the integration exercise was amazing. So I just love that. And thanks to everyone for bringing that together. Michelle and Molly and everyone. Rebecca, thanks so much.
Thanks, Erin. Yeah, and I'll just say, to the participants again that, yeah, so it may be hard for you to formulate what you're taking away from this experience. You just had it, and so you may need a little bit of time to think about it. But I'm appeal to you to say whatever you can right now, because it really helps us to get the feedback, and it also helps each of us to hear from others about what happened for you. So in that spirit, I encourage you to say something if you can. Yeah, Marta.
Yeah, I'll say that, as a Catholic, as an empathy cycle facilitator, I've always advocated for more embodiment and embodiment exercises, and I've done it when I do circles, and for me it's just such a good component to acknowledge the body and bring that togetherness. And so really big appreciation for you guys, to bring that to the facilitators of the embodiment practices today, for bringing that to us as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Marta. Who else would
I
like
can
to
share.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of light bulbs went off. I'm taking away quite a lot of thoughts and ideas, but the biggest takeaway for me is really the experience of being fully heard and held and supported, and just a reminder that is sometimes the best medicine we can offer.
Thank you, Molly. Anyone else? Larry?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Sam and Srasa and Marta, and our group was just amazing. The participation was incredible. I mean, I was in tears. The love, the hugs, the opportunity to open space for humanity to be itself and be fully heard was incredible. And I'm just really grateful that I was here. Thank you all.
Thanks, Larry. Anyone else?
I would like to appreciate the generosity of heart and spirit of the people in my group, the vulnerability and the depth of insight. I'm taking away so much. I'm really inspired and grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Celine.
Yes, Stephen.
Yes, Sam.
Thank you. For me, what I really want to take away is the happiness that comes when you know that you are sharing what has been a challenge into your life with people who will not judge you, people who received you, and it's just amazing to see people sitting there to listen to you. It comes with some joy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for sharing that. Anyone else? Yes, Simone.
Yeah, I'm super grateful for this opportunity to be here tonight, so in my time zone tonight, and just literally having that reminder of that fixing is not necessary. So just being present, listening, allowing through really that flow of empathy, listening, so to say, deeply, really to give, space to the other person to explore and allowing them to say what they need to say rather than being distracted by fixing, offering solutions, guiding in some way, especially in trauma-informed circles. It's really important to allow space, and just because we don't know what has happened to the individual, staying present with what is being mentioned, and that's it, letting it be. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simone. So we're at 5 minutes till the hour. How much do we need time after this harvesting for a close? How much time are we supposed to leave?
Just a minute.
Okay, so we still have a few more minutes if there are other people who would like to share. Anyone else?
I think
Yeah.
I'll share. I think I was reminded that the power of empathy circles when people were sharing. Recent memories came back when I was a participant and as a facilitator. I think I am mourning the fact that we, as much as I absolutely enjoyed this, the interaction with Mina and Erin, I'm mourning the fact that we didn't actually have a facilitator who was actually, specifically diving into this topic for the trauma. So I kind of feel, that would have been really. But I think, again, I do believe in synchronicity, and I got what I got from this evening, as always. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibtisam. Someone else had their hand up. Was it Anne? Yeah.
I'd like to appreciate my group and the opportunity to work, to think about issues around trauma. And we ended up focusing quite a lot on young people and children and supporting them. And I'm glad of having had that opportunity to think and have things that I will reflect on further. Thank you.
Thank
and
you,
I
Anne.
loved the exercise of the integration exercise that we did that. That was a good thing.
Thank you, Anne. Anyone else?
Yeah, that was the first time for me. And I feel very grateful to have experienced that. So thank you, Molly, for inviting me. It's a good, beautiful reminder of all the good that lives inside each of us. And to see how, when you set up such intention, when you come with such mindset, how you can quickly connect with authenticity with another being, which is just quite simply amazing for me.
Thank you,
So,
Alexa.
thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexa. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think we're about
Okay,
that
yeah.
last 1 minute. Thanks, Lou.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say thanks everyone for sharing. I really appreciate you stepping forward to do that. And I am going to paste a link in the chat for a written feedback form, and we'd really love to get your written feedback about the session.
I posted it as well. So yeah, it's the feedback. And then there's also the website, empathyscircle.com, so you can find out more about the practice. As you've experienced, it's an easy practice to get started, and I see it as a foundation for a lot of other practices. So you can anyone can get started quite easy with this. So I think, let's see. I think so. That's it. So we'll end with that, and hope this. Oh, and there's also links to there at the empathyscircle.com to our trainings. We have a 5-week facilitator training, and there's other intro empathy circles as well that you can check out there. So we'd like to end with our jazz hands, and if you can turn your video on, if you have a video, and if the facilitators can stay back, really appreciate that for debrief. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.
Please do the feedback form. That will help us understand what to do next. Yeah.
Alrighty. Thanks, Lou. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thanks everybody who
Bye.
joined. It
Thank
was just
you.
absolutely gorgeous. Thank you for turning up.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.